Hi, this is a short video consisting of 7 tips and techniques for adding harmony to your solo guitar improvisation. It's targeted to those tuning their guitar in perfect fours, that is E, A, D, G, C, F, not B, E, C, F. And as bass players should be able to relate, but if you tune in standard tuning, all you got to do is take whatever notes I'm fretting on what you call the B and E string and just move it up 1 fret, and you'll be right there with me. So hopefully that should be clear. What I'd like to talk about are some techniques to memorize the chords for whatever tune it is you're playing, and how to shift keys easily, move it to another key. 5 ways to use the basic 1, 3, 5, 7 chord tones to add harmony to your playing. Now that's not the only stuff you can add, but it's the basic stuff, and it'll take you a long way. You'd be surprised. And at the very end, time permitting, the use of the tritone sub. So what I thought I could do for this for this video is take a standard tune, say like Body and Soul, and just take the first verse of it. It's the chords aren't complex, and there's not that many of them, but it gives you a good taste of some of the applications of what I'm going to talk about. I've listed the chords. I'm not going to name them in the video because that just takes up too much time, but they'll be in the notes in the text below this video on YouTube. Now I call this sort of numerology, but when I think of a tune, what I'm trying to memorize is not E flat minor 7, B flat 7, E flat minor 7, A flat 7, D major 7, etc., etc. There's a couple of reasons for that. One, I'm not very good at memorizing that sort of stuff. 2, it locks me into a key, and also allows me to get into the poor habit of thinking positions. So the technique I'm about to suggest might be different for some of you. I'm sure if you're an experienced jazz player, you've heard this stuff before. But the way I tend to think of a tune, like the first verse of Body and Soul, again, the chords are in the text below, I don't call it E flat minor 7 or A flat 7 or whatever. I just call it the position relative to the key of the song. In this version, the key is D flat. So I'm thinking in terms of D flat. So the first chord is a 2. I don't call it a 2 minor 7 because I should be able to hear that. A 2, 6, 2, 5, 1, 4, 3, flat 3, flat 3, 2, 2, 7, 3, 6, 2, 5, 1, 6 for the turnaround. The advantage of thinking in those terms for memorizing a tune, there's a couple of advantages here. One, I'm thinking in relative terms. So if I decide to change the key for some reason, let's say I go down to G, playing in the key of G, I've memorized my sequence. So I have 2, 6, 2, 5, 1, 4, 3, flat 3, 2, 2, 7, 3, etc., etc. And it makes it easier to switch keys. Also, it doesn't lock me in to a position on the fretboard. I could take all the stuff up here. I'm in G up here, 2, 6, 2, 5, 1, 4, 3, flat 3, blah, blah, blah. So I can move around. It makes it easier for me to utilize the entire neck, easier to switch keys. And then there's a third benefit, and that is every time I learn a new tune, a new song, I'm thinking in terms of these bass notes for the chords, the root notes for the chords. And so I began to see these common themes running through the songs. I say, oh, there's, 3, 6, 2, 2, 5, 1, there's 4, flat 7, flat 3, blah, blah, blah. And these little building blocks that I see over and over again, and it helps me memorize more tunes, and helps me look at the standard jazz repertoire with a wider perspective, a broader perspective. And so I get familiar with these changes better, and it makes me more flexible in how I approach things. That's the first part of what I call numerology. The second part of what I call numerology, and this is a slight deviation from what I just said, which was analyzing or understanding the flow of the harmonic structure of the tune. Now I'd like to talk about the harmonic structure of the chord that you're playing. So if I took a D flat major, and ran a major scale on it, I would, and converted it to numbers, just like I was doing for a tune, I would end up like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, back to 1. So I'm calling the scale, I'm looking at the scale in terms of numbers. What I'm going to suggest here is maybe something you haven't thought of before, you haven't heard before. I tend to use that system of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for all the chords. So if I converted this to that D flat major to a D flat minor, I would call it this: 1, 2, 3. It's a minor third, but I don't bother with the minor third nomenclature. I just call it a 3 because it's the 3 to that chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, flat 7, but I'm not going to call it flat 7, it's too hard. 1. I'm supposed to know, in my own thinking, I want to hear that chord, and I don't want to have to make, oh, this is a flat 7, this is a sharp 5, blah, blah, whatever that sort of stuff. I'm just going to call it according to its function as if it were a major scale. And it gives me some advantages, I think, and I'm going to get into these advantages shortly. Now, the purpose of this video is to give you some ideas on how to add some harmony to your melodic improvisations. Every tune has a head, the main major melody, and the first verse of Body and Soul, you probably heard it a million times. We're going to do it in D flat. One of the first things that you can do to add harmony to your improvisation, you have some line you want to play. Say for that E flat minor 7. One of the things you can do is play the root note of E flat minor 7, which is E flat. Okay, I think you get the idea. I'm just adding the root note of the chord, and that sort of shows you the flow of the tune. The next technique are double stops. And when I say double stops, what I mean are adjacent strings, 2 notes on adjacent strings. I'm only using 1, 3, 5, 7 to communicate the harmony in this case. I use double stops based on 1, 3, 5, 7 to flesh out the harmony while I'm doing some line. So let me give you an example. Adding these little 2 reference notes to your lines, the 1 reference notes based on the 1, 3, 5, or 7, some combination therein, can add a lot of harmony to your improvisation. And from my point of view, this is one of the most powerful techniques you can add. It takes a lot of practice to have your lines and then break up the lines and suddenly add the 7/3 to it. Just as a refresher, remember I said earlier, regardless of the chord type, I describe everything as 1, 3, 5, 7. So if it's a minor, I don't say 1, 3, 1 minor third, 5 flat 7. I say 1, 3, 5, 7. For each chord that I'm playing as it goes through that tune, say body and soul, I'm thinking of 1, 3, 5, 7 for each one of those chords. And that should be automatic. And I've got 11 that I think are pretty useful. The first is, I would say, the 1, 3, and doing it in C just so it's easy. The first one is 1, 3. The next one is 1, 5. The next one is 3, 5, 3, 7, 3, 1, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 1, 5, 3, 7, 3, 7, 5, and even 7, 1. That's sort of cool to throw that in, mix it in occasionally. I don't use it all that much. Let's do it in minor real quick. 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 5, 3, 5, 3, 7, 3, 1, 5, 7, 5, 1, 5, 3, 7, 3, 7, 5, 7, 1. So you can use variations of that or various flavors of that as you go through your solo. Just give you a taste. Okay, so hopefully that what's your appetite for those double stops? I think they're very useful. You can play entire tunes just doing that.